Hey, Entrepreneur Nation, welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur 101 from concept to exit and everything in between. We got a great guest with us today, Dr. Amanda Barrientez. And I said I wasn't going to screw that up, so I had to get it out quick. She's with us all the way from Colorado Springs. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She is known as the money healer. I've got some sick money that could probably use some help here. She's the founder of NFA, and I'm going to let her tell you what the acronym stands for. We're going to bring her into Entrepreneur 101 the right way. I let her drop some bombs. She is a best-selling author, and her book, I Am a Money Magnet, is an international bestseller. She's the host of the Woman Entrepreneur podcast and the NFA YouTube channel. She's been featured on over 150 podcasts. We'll say 151 now that we've got lucky enough to get her on the show. And she loves sharing tips on how to up-level your money mindset to manifest easier money in life and business. And I'm sure there isn't a listener here that wouldn't like some information on that. So with that being said, Dr. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hey, Reggie, thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's great to have you. So like I said, I'm going to let you drop the first F-bomb. Let the audience know what does NFA stand for?
NFA, no fucking around.
Isn't that good for you?
It's so fun, especially when you think about money. NFA money, really the concept behind it is radical responsibility. And that really happened for me as I created my entrepreneurial journey and my business. It was this place of, instead of blaming other people for what I was getting, I started to take radical responsibility, and everything in my life changed,
Right.
including money. And I went from food stamps to building a 6-figure business in its first year. And it took an NFA attitude. It was like, hey, I'm NFA about learning, growing, marketing, helping people, getting results. And so NFA really, has morphed into this really fun, just way of being, really.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, I like how you said you kind of took responsibility. So I want to, before we talk about your business and what you do, I want to talk a little bit about your background and one thing you brought up there. So was there a point in your life maybe where, and I always say people, tear up that victim card. Did you find yourself at different points in your life and then you had this mindset change where, oh, poor me sort of thing, or, oh, if this had to happen or if somebody hadn't have done this, did you pull out that victim card sometimes in your past life and, rely on that one?
Oh, yeah. I love that term. That's so great. Tear up your victim card. It's so true,
Yeah,
because it's so much easier to blame other people for your reality than it is to take responsibility. And
absolutely.
yet your greatest power lies when you decide to take responsibility, because you're the creator of your entire reality. And so, now that I know the principles of really quantum physics and how your energy creates your outer world, it's easy to, well, I'll say, instead of saying it's easy, because it's not always easy. It's
Right. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
always the easy way. It's the
Yeah.
way of the master. It's the way of the person who really decides, like, hey, I want to consciously create my reality. And when I blame you, I lose all of my power.
Right.
And so if I want to be a fully empowered person and really decide where I want to go and consciously create, I got to decide, hey, I'm going to be radically responsible for my reality and tear up that victim card and stop blaming other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens that, and I think I've spoke on this in a past episode, is we give those other people the power, because we're pissed off or we're angry or they did something and they're not even giving it a second thought. Yet we're living with it day after day. And the only person it's affecting is us. Right. And like you say, once you can decide, okay, you know what? I can't control the actions of others. It's only my reactions that I can control. And when you decide that, yeah, I'm going to take full responsibility for those, then maybe we can start to find some of that easier money. So that's great. So why don't you take us into your background just a little bit and let us know, before you came NFA and you got on this journey, let us know a little bit about your background.
Yeah, one thing I always like to ask people just listening to first think about how many times they've already thought about money today. Like, how many times have you already thought about money today? We
Right.
think about money all the time, and it brings up every single emotion under the sun. You can feel joy, elation, infatuation, excitement, inspiration. You could feel greed, shame, fear, doubt. I mean, wow,
Yeah.
it brings
Yeah.
every single thing up. And especially when you're in a disempowered place. And for me, it really started in a super disempowered place and very victim minded, where I was on the floor crying one night. I had left my 15-year marriage having an affair, and my next relationship wasn't working. So I was laying on the basement floor, looking at the empty basement because my boyfriend had moved all of his stuff out. I
Right.
was in grad school and I had 3 kids, and I was already on food stamps. And so I'd spent the day looking in the States. It was Craigslist at the time. So
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
houses to live, and I couldn't afford anything. Like, everything was out of my price range. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. I don't know where I'm going to live with my kids.
Right.
And so here I am feeling very sorry for myself, crying and just thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I sat up, and I remember having this moment, and I didn't know these terms at the time. I wouldn't have labeled it this, but it was like an epiphany moment where I
Right.
sat up and I thought, I am sick and tired of feeling broke and having crappy relationships. I am willing to do whatever it takes to shift these things.
Yeah.
And I really, in my mind, I was like, I'm the problem. Like, I'm the problem. Looking across my life course and scanning everything that had happened to me, I realized I'm the one that had created it.
Right.
And I didn't know where it was going to lead me, but because I was so busy and already, maxed in my schedule, I decided to start listening to podcasts. And so I would listen to podcasts while I was washing the dishes and while I was driving my kids to school and in between classes. And I just started listening to, relationship podcasts and confidence and codependency. And that led me to mindset and money, and just it opened up this whole world to me of realizing, like, oh, you can actually learn how to lead a life that feels good.
Right.
And so I started implementing everything I was learning, and I started to parent differently and teach my students differently. And my life really started to change. And, I think the cool way that the universe works, at the same time that this was happening, the department that I was in, where I was earning my PhD, had this national news fallout where professors were leaving the department. And I was watching this just going, oh my God, I don't want to be a professor anymore. This looks really stressful. And,
Yeah.
people were flying out for 100 job interviews and getting crappy offers. And I thought, wow, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. And so it planted this seed of idea, like, all these podcasts I'm listening to are by coach type people.
Right.
And I really love to teach. And so I thought, what if I just took the leap and decided to build my own business and be a coach? And then I could get paid to do what I enjoy doing. I wouldn't have to move. I could stay home and be home with my kids.
Yeah.
And so I decided in that first year after I graduated to take the leap, and I went from food stamps to 6 figures in that first year. And, ever since then, it's just been that was 5 years ago, or I'm in my
Right.
5th year of business now. And it's just been this rapidly evolving process of learning business and all the ups and downs and, all the things that come along with entrepreneurship. And it led me to working with people on money, and really mindset. Like, inner power alignment is this concept of, you've got to choose daily to practice inner power habits, mindset shifts, train yourself for success, and then anyone can have it. You can consciously create your reality when you have inner power habits that set you up for daily success.
Right. That's awesome. And we will maybe talk about some of those habits too. You can share some of those. So you were in school, obviously, getting your PhD. Was this the first time that, becoming an entrepreneur had actually crossed your mind? Like, was that ever really, yeah, I want to do my own business sort of thing? Or were you, planning on just being a teacher and teaching and
It's a great question.
yeah.
It's interesting because I have a really complex entrepreneurial background. My parents are serial entrepreneurs, and
Okay.
it's been like boom bust, boom bust.
Right.
Luckily, they're booming now. But there've been a lot of, like, watching them growing up. It
Absolutely.
was a lot of, I knew the way and I saw the way, and I thought, like, I didn't think about it a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I thought, I want to go to school. And my dad told me a lot, go to school and get a good job. And I think it was because of some of those
Because
struggles
of
that
the
he
ups and
had,
downs.
that were
Yeah.
ups and downs.
Yeah.
Then I got married, and in my 15-year marriage, he was an entrepreneur a lot of the time. And it was very challenging. We were very financially unstable, which is part of the reason I went back to school, is
Right.
because I thought, what's the most stable career I can get where I
Yeah.
have a secure paycheck?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
during that time before I went back to school, I actually did some businesses on the side. Like I did an eBay business and I did a bookkeeping business and I did a few things that I kept thinking, I want to work from home to be with my kids,
Yeah.
but it was never lucrative enough. And I would just work really hard and not make a ton of money. I'd make some.
Right.
And so, when I stepped into entrepreneurship this round, it was funny because for years I always said to my ex-husband, like, I would never be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And here I am being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
So
And yeah. So that was
s-
my history with it.
yeah, did you jump in like both feet, or did you kind of start, kind of as a side hustle? Like you said, you'd done eBay and that before. So this time around, did you say, I'm all in and gave up everything else? Or did you kind of test the waters first before you decided, yes, this is going to work?
I will say the difference this round was that I really had a powerful why behind it. Like I
Right.
was on fire, inspired. Like all the stuff that I was learning just changed my reality so much that I thought, why the heck don't we teach this to people in schools? And why don't people have this skill set? And people are hungry for personal power. Like
Yeah.
we often feel broken down, beat down. We don't know what we want. We don't know who we are. We don't know how to get there. We don't have confidence. And it's like, I was on fire. So that was a big difference this round where I was like, I'm all in 100%, but I did do it somewhat strategically. So, as I was coming toward the end of my PhD program, I started building out a website. It wasn't a very good one,
Okay.
but I started
Right.
building
Yeah.
out a
Yeah.
website
Yeah.
and
Huh.
I started going to networking events.
Okay.
And right when I graduated, I was planning to leap full time in. And then it was interesting because I was just a couple weeks in after graduating and going like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And I got a call from my department, and we had a professor in our department pass away unexpectedly. And it happened to be that he taught the classes that I had been teaching for a long time.
Right.
And it was in the honors department, which in the States means like small classes with really serious students. And I was
Right.
like, oh, maybe this is a good way to supplement until I can see how fast this flies.
Yeah.
So I took on 2 classes as an adjunct professor. And then it was really wild because what happened is I love teaching. So that was really fun. And it took quite a bit of time. So I decided, I was building, going to networking events, getting clients, and all of a sudden it just took off. And I was like, wow, I cannot do both. And I definitely want to do my business. So when they called me back for that next semester, I said, no, I'm going to go full-time business. And so I left and I've never looked back since. So then that first full-time year, I was all in.
Right.
And I will say my plan the whole time was to be it was to build a coaching business to help people. I can't believe still sometimes that I get paid to help people.
Right.
Like the
Yeah.
amount of money I get paid to help people, like I pinch myself, or even to be here with you right now. Like I love to share these principles with
Right.
people because I really do know what it feels like to feel super stuck, not know how to change, think that there are no answers. I mean, I've been suicidally depressed in my life before, where you're just like, oh my God, I just want this to end. And now
Yeah.
my life is amazing. I'm really good friends with my ex-husband. I'm married happily. I own a house. I have growing investments. I have a growing business. Like my life is thriving. And that was only 5 years ago that I was
Right.
laying on the floor crying,
Yeah.
So I know that people can change. And so I love to be a conduit, a guide, a teacher to help people do those things.
Right. And it's maybe hard for people to believe, but you hear it said that if you can do what you love, you'll never work another day in your life, right? Just because you get up and you're excited about it. It's not like, oh shit, it's Monday. It's like, okay, it's Monday. I get to do what I love, right? So that's awesome. And if anybody doubts, Amanda's saying that she's all in. She does have the company logo tattooed on her forearm, so you don't get more all in than that. But no, that's awesome. So then let's talk a little bit, about what it is you do and what you help, your clients with as far as your coaching. Can you lead us down that path?
Yeah, the first thing I like people to know, if you live by this quote, it will rock your world. So your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you don't like what you're getting on the outside, change what's within. Okay. So if you're looking around in your outer world and you're going, it's not a 10 in my physical health, it's not a 10 in my emotional or my financial or my spiritual or my like anywhere,
Right.
you've got to change yourself from within to be a 10. And so you really want to remember, what are the daily principles that I do in order to get aligned every single day to create and design the life I love? I love this concept of, if you knew with 100% certainty that you are the creator of your reality, wouldn't you get up every single morning and design your day?
Absolutely.
That makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
Yeah.
And most people don't do it. And especially when they get busy, and especially entrepreneurs who have a lot on their plates,
Right.
they often go, "Oh, I'll get to that later. I'll take care of myself later. I'll notice my wins later. I'll meditate and journal and read later," because there's so much on the plate. And instead, you got to reverse that, and you've got to first and foremost get aligned. And
Right.
the cool thing about that is when you do it is that you attract through your energy. So most people think, oh, law of attraction, I sit on the couch and I daydream about what I want and it comes my way. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Well, and actually I could say it does work like that. The thing that most people don't realize is that when let's just use money as an example. Let's say you're a new entrepreneur, or you haven't broken through to 6 figures yet, or you haven't gone to whatever level you choose to get to. So you're hyper focused on making a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
but really what you're focused on is the lack or the scarcity of it,
Right.
instead of actually focusing on where you want to be. And so most people, everyone's attracting. You can't turn off the law of attraction. It's not like, oh, that's not good for you, so the law of attraction just stops working.
Right.
Instead, it's that you're either consciously creating and from a place of pure inspiration and joy, and you're choosing what you want, or you're unconsciously creating through attracting through a low vibrational frequency that's focused on all the scarcity of what you don't have. And so it's your job to get yourself aligned every single day to know what you want and to get aligned in order to magnetize it your way.
Now, can you give us some, either whether you call them habits or formulas or whatever, to help us start on that path? Because yeah, I'm guilty of it myself, right? I become too focused on the here and now. And like you say, we're focused on the scarcity, especially when you're starting, scarcity of customers, money, marketing, or knowing, which way to pivot or whatever it looks like. So what kind of, advice can you offer to people to say, listen, here's the path you should get started on? It doesn't have to be probably, 10 different things that you have to do every day, but even if you start slowly, start with 1, start with 2, whatever. How do you coach people to get started?
Yeah, I'll tell you, my whole entire new program is built exactly around the question you're asking, because every single person asks me this. What's one small thing I can do to get started?
Right.
And this simplest, and people sometimes are like, really? Seriously? It's like the simplest things that change your long term. And here's why. I'll tell you what the thing is. But first, here's why. I created a 3-step formula that helps you reprogram your subconscious mind and attract what you want. And it's very simple. It's recognize, reframe, repeat to reprogram. And it's that simple. The thing is, most people don't even stop to recognize that they don't feel good. They don't stop to recognize that they're stressed out. They don't stop to recognize that their plate is too full. So you've got to recognize, then you reframe. So this is habits reframes. This is mindset reframes. This is thought reframes, belief reframes, action reframes. And then when you repeat, this reprograms your subconscious mind. And this can't happen in one moment. It doesn't happen in one day. It happens over time. And so I've had so many people ask me that, and I'm always about creating systems, programs, coaching, tools to help people. When a lot of people are asking me something, I'm like, oh, this is a gap and a need to be filled. That's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
And so, I have this new program, and people are sometimes like, really? It's daily journaling. It starts with daily journaling.
Okay.
Simple questions to start to know yourself better.
Right.
So my whole philosophy around know who you are, know what you want, know how to get there. If you don't slow down enough to even know who you are and question what you're thinking, question how you're feeling, question what's going on around you. Is it working? Is it not working? Is my business, am I feeling good? Like, even asking yourself the simple question, how do I feel right now, is a powerful way to start to shift your energy. Because if you notice, oh, I'm feeling kind of stressed. And then you go, okay, what am I going to consciously choose to feel in the next 5 minutes? And you start shifting your energy. What happens when you repeat that is that you start to change from the inside out, and then you have new things come your way. most people overlook this because they think it needs to be some big grandiose gesture.
Right.
And realistically, it's a small daily habit. For those people who have listened to Atomic Habits, it's the 1% daily change, right? Yeah. And that's where you start to get big results. And so I created a whole new program around asking yourself like journaling prompts. So daily learning with the journaling prompt, writing about yourself, and then just meditating for a few minutes. And when I say meditating, I'm talking like just simple breathing to shift your energy. So It's knowing yourself better through daily habits and then watching over time how that changes. Exactly what I did to change my mindset. It was daily learning. Yeah. And I did it because I'm very NFA about the way I do things. Right. I did it like on 100x mode. It was like I was learning all day. I was digging into myself all day. So I got there faster. Anyone can do it with small daily habits. And if you want to accelerate it, do it even more. And that's it. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Now, do you find that a lot of people, because of the way us entrepreneurs are wired, that what may seem stressful to somebody, from the outside looking in, to us, that's just normal. This is who I am. This is how I function. Do you find that maybe in the beginning, a lot of new clients have a hard time narrowing down? Because I know that, we talk about knowing yourself. You nailed it right on the head. A lot of people don't even know what's important to them, what's really important, and what their true values are. And I have people break it into different boxes about, what I truly value and what my core values are and what my purpose is and things like that. And do you find though that people struggle and say, I'm not getting anywhere with this. This is just stupid. Like, I tried. I'm not stressed. What do you mean stressed, right? And I got no fingernails, but I'm not stressed. So do you find, with the people who are having a hard time with it that, you maybe have any tips for them? Because I'm sure mindset is a tough thing to change, right?
It can be, yeah.
We're creatures of habit. We change is hard for a lot of people, regardless of what it is. So how do you, motivate those people to just stick with it? You'll see it. Like you said, you're not going to see it tomorrow, but in the world we live in, we like instant results because we can get that depending on, right? I can go on social media and get interest results, depending on what I'm looking for. So how do I teach myself to be patient when I'm trying to do a mindset switch?
Yeah, these are great questions. And something I think is really interesting because I don't experience client resistance because I attract people who are ready to change.
And
I think that's the best thing I could say is that like I get when people ask me that, I'm like, I really don't run into that because let's say someone comes to me for a consult, I can hear in their languaging and the way they're talking whether they're ready to change or not. Right. And I'm just going to be the next guide for them. If they're not ready, I send them somewhere else. Yeah. Because I can't change that for you. Right. If you are not willing and ready to change and lean all in, I'm not going to be able to help you. No one can help you. Right. That's the thing, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's what's wild and fascinating about this is that the first thing is like the recognition of that your life feels like crap and you don't like what you're getting. So you're ready to change. Right. Once you're ready to change, I could be a guide. YouTube University could be a guide. For me, it was free podcasts that changed me, but I chose to do that. And I chose to lean in fully to it. I did my dissertation research was with incarcerated men who had been incarcerated on average for 18 years. And then we're in this rehab program. So they spent 18 years incarcerated. Before that, they were gang involved. And so I looked at their history of trauma. I mean, like horrible violence that you just can barely even imagine.
Wow.
And I asked those questions, like I dug in, like what made you get here? Because they had to work really hard to get into this rehabilitation program where I got to interview them. Right. And it was so cool because what it all came down to was you got to be ready to change. Right. Like every time it was what every man said. And I was like, interesting. It's wild how people, just everyday people will look for the answer for years and try to solve the puzzle of why they're not getting what they want. And the first place they haven't looked is like, oh, I'm just not willing to do the work. Right. You got to be willing to put the time and energy in. Yeah. A beautiful, amazing, incredible life does not just drop into your lap. Right. People who have that have actually put in the time to get it. It doesn't just magically happen to anyone. I don't know a person on the planet who it's just like roses and peaches and cream and rainbows and unicorns, and they didn't do something for that. Right. It's because we are built to have challenge come our way for us to grow.
Right.
So let's say that you were born into like an elite family with lots of ease and a great community that has all up, you're still going to experience challenge.
Right.
And often, oddly, it's those people who don't know themselves the most because they haven't had to struggle to understand themselves. So I call this the curse of the comfort zone. Often
Yeah.
when people are really
Absolutely.
comfortable, they're
Yeah.
way more stuck because they don't have anything pushing them to learn and grow and
Yeah.
change.
No
So
change
food
comes from the comfort
stamps,
zone. Yeah.
exactly. Like food stamps was a huge gift to me. Having an affair, and my relationship breaking down, all the challenges that I had, a challenging childhood, like that stuff got me to where I am only because I chose to look at myself and tear up the victim card, like you
Right.
said.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think, you know, that there is the key to life, really, when you think about it, right? You have to be willing to change. It doesn't matter. I smoked for, God, I can't even tell you how long, probably 20 years at one point, a pack a day near the end. And it just got to the point where I wanted to quit. And it was the easiest damn thing I'd ever done, because I'd heard, okay, I'm ready for the withdrawals. I'm ready, for the shakes and all this shit. And it was like, either all y'all are a bunch of pussies because, I'm going through this and it's the easiest thing ever, or it was just because I was at that point. I was ready.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I think you can achieve so much when you just say, I'm ready. And I think it's important to remember too that the first thing you try may not be the right thing, right? Or the first coach you meet up with may not be the right coach. It doesn't mean that type of system doesn't work. It's just maybe you just don't gel with that person, or they just don't speak your language. Because I always said the same about teachers. Teachers know one way to teach, and it may not be the way you learn.
Yeah.
So, no different than in our world with coaches. You and I could both coach the exact same thing, and some clients would love you and some would love me, and some would look at the other one and think, what's this person teaching? Like, that's just whack. So you got to be open to it. That's for sure. And I love that. You got to be willing to change. So tell me, what is an affirmantra? Because I've heard of affirmations,
Yeah.
mantras, but what is
Yeah.
an affirmantra?
Yeah, I love it. So this is referring to in my book. So it's I Am a Money Magnet book. If you want free chapters, just go to I'mAMoneyMagnetBook.com. So it's the top 30 money making affirmantras to manifest more. And you could say mantra or mantra.
Right.
The reason that I combined affirmation and mantra is because a mantra is a repeated phrase that you say over and over. And remember, to reprogram your subconscious mind, it takes repetition.
Right.
Now, I think the other piece I bring to the table that's really important is that most people use affirmations incorrectly. And what they do is actually create resistance that causes them to push away the thing that they're trying to affirm.
Right. Yeah,
So
okay.
what I mean by this is, the number one thing that causes you to not manifest instantaneously is resistance. And resistance can show up in those unconscious beliefs telling you the opposite of what you are consciously saying you want.
Right.
So let's say the conscious part of you is like, I have a goal to create a 6-figure plus business. But then 95% of you that's subconsciously wired and running its system has counter beliefs. So I call this competing commitments. And what happens when you create an affirmation is you're creating it because you don't have the thing, right? Otherwise, you don't need to create an affirmation.
Yeah, right.
So you're creating it, but then that part of you, that 95% of you, is battling against it. It's going, you're full of crap. That's not possible. This isn't true.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I am a 6-figure business owner, I am a 6-figure business owner, but you're not that, your subconscious is causing resistance because it's going, you're not, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to get there. You're full of crap.
Yeah.
So you want to create what I call an affirmantra, which is using starter statements that I've outlined in the book that help you 100% believe what you're repeating to yourself. So an example of this would be using the starter statement, I prefer. So here we go. Like, let's say quit smoking, the example you use, instead of saying like, I am trying to quit smoking. A lot of people will, affirm something like that, or like, I am not a smoker.
Right.
I am not a smoker. But your brain's like, yeah, right. You just had one 5 minutes ago and you're sitting here craving one right now, right?
Yeah.
So instead you go, I prefer not to be a smoker. And you repeat that. I prefer not to be a smoker. It feels good when I don't smoke.
Right.
It feels good when I take care of my body, right? And so you can repeat that. So then all of a sudden you get this craving for a cigarette. And instead of going, I'm not a smoker, I'm not a smoker, I'm not a smoker, which causes resistance because you don't believe it.
Yeah.
Instead, you go, it feels good to take care of my body. I feel good when I choose not to smoke. Another great starter statement, I choose to blank. So let's say that you're playing with making more money in your business
Right.
and you want to break through the next level. So instead of saying, I am getting 5 new clients this week, you could say, I prefer to attract new clients every week. You can 100% believe that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can say, I choose to do what it takes to attract 5 clients this week. I choose to think it's possible to have new clients this week. And so it's these starter statements that start to program your mind in a different way that is 100% believable to you. And so you want to pick the ones that are 100% believable to you as you practice using them, and then journal with them over and over and over repetitively, or even just use them throughout the day when you notice resistance coming up.
Right. Oh, that's great. Now, is there a chapter on that, like starter
Yep.
statements in that in your book? Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome. And we will be putting a link for that on the show notes. So, yeah, because I've never heard of starter statements. So, and yeah, and because I think that was a lot of my issue with, affirmations and things like that. Like you said, in your mind, in your subconscious, that's crap. I'm not this, I'm not that. But to say,
Yeah.
like you said, no, I prefer, right? Then yeah, you can believe that. That makes so much sense. And like you say,
Yeah.
it's so easy, right? But if you don't know
Yeah.
it, right? But now you sitting here just saying, like, listen, stupid, like this is just so easy. All you got to say is I prefer, not that I want to, right? I prefer to. And yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
great. I'll be preferring some stuff on my own here for sure. That's great. So,
Yeah.
um, now I know you talk something about money blocks and how money blocks, they affect us in our business. Now, does that have a lot to do with alpha mantras as well, or what is a money block and how's it preventing us in our business?
Yeah, great questions. Yes, I would say affirmations are reframe strategies. So, like meditation is a reframe strategy. Using affirmations could be a reframe strategy. EFT tapping, even a reframe strategy could be just doing something the opposite of what you've done, just to
Right.
play with stretching your mind in different ways. So, those are reframe strategies. And reframe strategies are always going to help you reprogram unconscious blocks. So,
Okay.
when we're thinking about money blocks, a money block is an unconscious belief that you have that's playing out in your outer reality. So remember, like I said at the beginning, your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you don't like what you're getting on the outside, you got to change what's within. So
Right.
money blocks are what cause you to have a cap, like a glass ceiling or a
Yeah.
money set point,
Yeah.
where you start to break through to a certain level, and then all of a sudden your subconscious brings you back down to the comfortable level unconsciously, because it's where it's safe.
Right.
And so we actually need to choose to reprogram our money mindset. Otherwise, we'll just keep sabotaging and we won't understand why. So we'll think, like, oh, yeah, I'm starting to make more money in my business. And then all of a sudden, like an emergency will happen to suck the money away.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
you'll start to make more money in your business and all of a sudden you'll get sick.
Yeah.
I see this all the time.
Yeah.
People will get
Absolutely.
physically ill, or they'll
Yeah.
have an emergency. They'll like something will happen to their body, or something will happen to a relationship. They'll have something big happen in their relationship. So
Yeah.
these are all things that cause you to sabotage back to this safe point level of how good you've made yourself feel in the past and what you're
Right.
conditioned to. And so money blocks, the 3 main ones that I see are money is bad, money is scarce, and money causes stress. And so a money is bad one is going to look like money is the root of all evil. I
Yeah.
can't make money doing what I love. It's not spiritual to make money. Sometimes it can be, oh, if I have too much money, someone else is going to suffer. So it's spiritual if we all suffer together, those
Right.
kinds of
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
Money is scarce is one where there's a lot of scarcity consciousness going on, where it's you don't think you can have both, and so you focus on either or.
Okay.
And you often just this overriding belief happens where you think there's never going to be enough. I've worked with mega millionaires who struggle with this, where they make tons of money and they still worry there's never going to be enough.
Right.
And so that you could make a lot of money or no money and have a scarcity belief about money.
Yeah.
And then in money causes stress, it's often an avoidance of looking at your money, which causes you to be
True.
inefficient with your
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Okay.
Because what happens is you go, oh, money causes stress, I don't want to look at it.
Right.
But then you don't look at your P&L and you don't see, like, oh, well, what's bringing in the most money? What's my highest ROI activity?
Yeah.
And so you tend to overlook it. So, no matter what amount you're making or what amount you could bring in, you just tend to avoid and push it away because you're afraid money causes stress. Often what shows up here too is like fear of success. Like, oh, if I'm too successful, it'll be stressful.
Right.
So those are the main three that I see. And there are a lot of different, underlying beliefs behind each of those. But those were the three I saw when I've done hundreds of money stories with different types of entrepreneurs all over the world, and similar across the board.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And I like how you say, you can either, have lots of money and not have enough, or you can have no money and not have enough. People always look at, I mean, we see it all the time with famous people, right? We all look, from the outside in and think, oh, isn't their world so great? They got it so great. And we see it, the suicides and the drug addictions and all this. And these are the people who think, well, they've got everything I want, right? So how can they not be happy, right? It's because, they're struggling with, whatever it is that they haven't faced, their reality. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I always like to say, wherever you go, there you are.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the money isn't the answer.
No.
You are the answer.
Yeah.
The money isn't the problem. You're the problem.
Yeah.
We scapegoat a lot on the money. It's really interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll blame, our unhappiness on, well, if I only had more money, or
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or right, the price of this or the price of that, or the damn government doing this, or whatever it is. Yeah. It's always nice to have somebody to blame, for sure. Right. Saves us taking responsibility for our own, shortcomings. So, you mentioned about, or sorry, I don't think you mentioned, but I know I saw it, something about the 3 deadly mistakes that are killing my profits in business.
Yeah,
what are those 3 deadly mistakes?
Right now, today, I would say the 3 deadliest mistakes is first, based on our conversation today, blaming other people for reality, right? Blaming other people, not being willing to do the work to master yourself. And I would say these 2, like, start there. The third is impatience, especially in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
And the reason I say that is because impatience is a scarcity mindset, right? Because what you're doing is forcing something, you're quote unquote trying to push it faster, harder, and you're causing resistance. And so you actually are pushing the profits away. What most people do, it's amazing when I look back at when I went to 6 figures. I didn't know all these fundamentals that I know now of, like, universal laws and quantum physics and manifestation principles. And I worked off that first year, like, wow, I worked a lot to get to 6 figures. I was one of those people that set a goal and it was like hell or high water, it is happening. And so I got there. It's still pretty cool because, like, wow, to be able to go from food stamps to 6 figures is a pretty big deal.
Absolutely.
And I like to teach people, like, master yourself, be willing to do the work, and be patient, because this isn't a burn yourself out, feel like crap, make a prison out of your business situation, right? If you're building a business that you love, just like you said earlier, you want to wake up where every day feels like play.
Right.
This is a long-term journey that we're on. We're not going for, like, let's get rich quick overnight. And, it doesn't work that way. Like, I look at my business as a spiritual journey. Like, I really think about business building as a spiritual journey. And I say this for everyone because you will dig up every part of yourself to face when you build a business.
Yeah.
And the more that you're willing to lean into that, the more magnetic you can become, because you can start to break through those unconscious blocks we talked about. And then you start to play in your zone of genius. And then you start to magnetize. And then you get to, in what I call the zone of manifestation, where, customers are coming easily. You wake up and you feel good. You have energy. You're not stressed. You build passive streams of income. That all happens over time. It's not an overnight thing. And so really like to remind people that patience, instead of, being impatient, is one of those things that kills your profits, because it just causes you to be stressed, causes you to beat yourself up, causes you to negatively compare yourself to other people, causes imposter syndrome, causes doubt, and all of those things push profits away.
Right. Yes. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons, for entrepreneurs to take away is if you're in it for the long haul. And, there's a saying, something about, all overnight successes are years in the making, right? We don't notice But when you're, knee deep in the shit day after day after day, it can seem like, oh my God, this week just sucked and I don't want to keep doing this. But in 5 years, you won't even remember that week. All right. You won't remember the 4 years prior that sucked, because now you hit that goal and it's just like, I don't even remember. I don't even know what I was stressing about. Right. It's easy.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think a big part, that would probably help a lot of entrepreneurs as well, is to embrace that journey of getting to know themselves. So when they start down that path, right, they get to know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and they don't get that imposter syndrome, and they don't, start to get frustrated with it, because they know themselves and they say, yeah, I know I suck at that. So maybe I should get some help with that, instead of just saying, oh, I can't do this business thing, this is stupid, I'm going back to school, or whatever it is, right? It's, it's not, and like we said, you see it all the time, where all the people are saying, oh, look how easy this is. Look, I make money in my sleep, Yeah, you sure, but it took you 10 years to get to that point. So, let's be a little real on it here. So, now you talked a little bit about the glass ceiling, right? How do we go about, and I'm sure a lot of the tools you've used already, but how do we go about breaking through that glass ceiling? And how do we know we even have a glass ceiling?
Yeah, it's really easy to detect when you have a glass ceiling, when you notice it could not even necessarily be the income increasing. It could be, but it could be when something starts to feel better and be more aligned with what you say you want. So it could be your business is growing, more clients, it could be more income, it could be better relationships, it could be feeling healthier in your body. And then all of a sudden something happens to sabotage it. And it seems like it's outside of you, where you're like, you got a car accident or someone rear-end you, you're like,
right.
What the heck is going on? And you really want to pay attention to that. I really believe we're addicted to feeling bad because we're so used to it. And so when we start to feel good, if we're addicted to feeling stressed out as entrepreneurs, then the second you start to feel good and it happens for too long, you will do something unconsciously to bring you back to that level of discomfort that feels good to you. Right. Even though it doesn't sound like it should feel good, it feels safe. And it really is wired into our systems to track our surroundings for threat. So when we feel good, when we've been used to feeling bad, it actually is a threat to us.
Right.
So
that's it's different. It's not our norm.
Yeah. So we've got to train ourselves to start feeling good on a habitual daily basis. And so that's really, it's I had someone post, I did an Instagram post, and it was saying something about money mindset and, and glass ceiling ideas. And it was like, break through the glass ceiling by starting to dig into yourself. And they're like, oh, if only it was so easy. And the funny thing is, it actually is.
Right.
What I teach is easy in terms of just writing it in sentences, like, okay, do this daily habit. But the hard part is showing up every day for yourself and recommitting to living a life of your dreams.
Right.
Right. Like the recommitment part is where people get stuck. And again, it's because we're addicted to feeling unhappy, and we're addicted to feeling stressed out, and we're addicted to feeling kind of low level bad.
Yeah.
It could even be high level bad. And so we want to start to break through that glass ceiling by just taking moments of joy. So I like to help people. I always have my clients do a joy list. So it's like it's called an emergency shift list.
Okay.
And what it means is that you're shifting your energy on a regular basis, because the more high vibe you can get on a more regular basis, you start to reprogram your vibrational frequency and you start to attract better things your way. And so an emergency shift list, you just write down 10 things that you love, love, love that bring you joy. And we could just say love once. It could be listening to music. It could be reading a book. It could be going on a walk around the block. It could be petting your cat. It doesn't have to be big things. It could be going on a trip.
Right.
But really what you want in this shift list is to have the things that you can do in a couple minutes at a time.
Yes.
That quickly uplevel your vibe, and then set an alarm on your phone that says, shift your energy. Like I do energy check-ins on my phone every day, and it says energy check-in, and I just go like, how am I feeling? And if I'm not feeling it at 10, I'll do some jumping jacks. I'll listen to a song. I'll shift my energy every couple of hours. And when you do this habitually, you'll notice big changes over the course, especially of a year, but you'll even notice changes over the course of a month.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I've never heard that before. At first, I thought you said an emergency shit list, and I probably
I
have.
know.
I probably have one of those. It's pretty long, but the emergency shift list. No, and I think that's awesome because we all have our damn cell phones on it. So yeah, like you said, put
Yeah.
those 10 things in your notes in the phone, and if things start feeling a little, then just look at it and say, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to take 3 minutes and listen to one of my favorite songs. Because I
Exactly.
don't know about anybody else, but music is my world. My world revolves around music, and I can listen to a song and poof, my mood changes. Right?
Yeah, me too.
So
I love
yeah,
that. And that's how simple it is. It could be like listening to 2 minutes of your podcast, right?
right.
It could be listening to, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is for you. It's just whatever you notice brings you joy and raises your vibe, do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And just, yeah, it's funny you said it because I had to be really conscious when I say it to people because I have on accident before said the emergency shit list. And they're
Yeah,
like, what?
absolutely. No, that's great. I've got some children on that list, so
Yeah.
but that's awesome. Well, you know what? Listen, Doctor, man, I don't want to keep you too much longer. We're going on like close to an hour
Oh,
here, so
yeah.
I love it. But if you could leave, Entrepreneur Nation with, any tips, tricks, words of wisdom, what would you tell people to help them start making that shift and to get to that, food stamps to six figures?
Yeah, I love to leave people with inspiration. And it's like, if I were in the room with you, I would like give you jumping. I always say jumping NFA, no fucking around high fives. I would hug you, I would cheer you on, and you got to do this for yourself because,
Right.
you're on a journey. This is a lifelong journey, and you really truly get to design your life. It's up to you. If you are getting crappy outcomes you don't like, just go within and just do simple little strategies I've taught here today. If you love your life, keep doing more of it because then
Yeah.
you'll just keep expanding. I have spirals everywhere because your spiral growth curve is you continuously expanding through the ups and the downs. Don't
Okay.
get some, crazy belief that it's all going to be up. It
Straight
isn't going to
lines,
all be
right.
up.
Yeah.
It's not. You've got to grow through change and challenge. And challenge is what causes you to grow. So if you're in a hard moment in your business, know that next evolutionary cycle of the spiral is going to happen. And then you're going to have more perspective and more experience and more opportunities. And so just, stay in the game, remind yourself every day why you became an entrepreneur and stay in the game and hang out with people like me, hang out with people like Reggie, listen to podcasts every day and keep yourself high vibe. And I love this, I always say to myself, my success is inevitable. My success is inevitable. I
Right.
prefer my success to be inevitable. I choose for my success to be inevitable. I mean, your success is inevitable if you stay in the game, you recommit daily, and you just keep going and get yourself aligned. Your success is inevitable.
That's awesome. No, and I thank you for being on the show because this is great. There's been so many great nuggets here that I appreciate you being on. And one thing, I said in a show quite a while ago is don't be afraid to be proud of yourself, right? Sometimes, we don't give ourselves enough credit. And I do what's called golden nuggets, and you're going to hear one here in a minute. But one of them was about, look yourself in the mirror and say, thank you. We don't thank ourselves, right? And I actually think it was Snoop Dogg I heard that from, right? He was just joking around where, at award shows and that we thank everybody. We thank everybody. He said, you know what? I would like to thank myself, right? Because you're the one who put the damn work in. You're the one who got up every morning. You're the one who showed up. You're the one who had to believe in yourself. You're the one who had to make that mindset shift and decide enough is enough. It's time for change. So be proud of, the path you're on. And every now and again, don't be afraid to say, you know what, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. Right. So listen, where can people find you? If they want to know more, if they want to get a hold of your book, where can we find you?
Yeah, go to NFAmoney.com. So NFAmoney.com, they can get free chapters of my book there. There's all kinds of resources, podcasts, all kinds of cool stuff. And the new program that I'm launching right around the time that this gets released, they'll have access to it there and they can check it out there too, which is that daily system, inexpensive daily system to self-coach and really get aligned with knowing who you are, knowing what you want, knowing how to get there, and really changing from the inside out. So nfamoney.com.
That's great. And we'll be putting that in the show notes. So, just in case you can't remember it, we'll have it for you. So listen, Dr. Amanda, thank you very much for being on the show. I appreciate you. Entrepreneur Nation, as always, thank you for allowing us both into your world, into your life, whether you're, making dinner right now, driving home, whatever it is. Thank you very much for letting us in. As always, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, what's wrong with you? Get it done. We're taking this journey together, right? I prefer if you hit that subscribe button, right? Hey, I learn too, right? I don't just sit here and talk. I'm not just another pretty face. I get to learn as well. And that's the one thing I love about the podcast is all these great guests who have, even after you hear it, it seems like that is so simple. But we wouldn't have known it if we didn't have Dr. Amanda on today. So thank you for sharing with us. And as always, as we wrap up, I just want to leave the one little golden nugget with you all, and that is, and I think we may have talked about it a little bit here, but if opportunity doesn't knock, build yourself a damn door, right? Businesses don't just start themselves. For every successful business out there, at some point, somebody had to decide to take a leap of faith. It doesn't matter what it was. At some point, somebody had to decide to make a change, to go all in. Just like our guest here today said, I decided to go all in. And, do you have what you think is a great idea? Do you have a vision to solve a problem? Most businesses, that's what we're doing. We're solving problems. Can you picture your life running your own business, getting up every day and being glad to do what you do? If you have a passion, a product, something you want to love, don't sit around and wait for somebody to open that door for you. Build your own door and start turning those dreams of business ownership into reality. Once again, Entrepreneur Nation, that's a wrap for today. I appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of it, and we'll talk soon.